If your dog does this when you leave, they're secretly saying goodbye. You grab your keys, you pick up your bag, and your dog, who was asleep 2 minutes ago, is now sitting at the door, watching you, not moving, just watching. Most people think that's separation anxiety. We're a habit. Maybe they just want to walk. But what your dog is actually doing in those final seconds before you leave is one of the most emotionally complex behaviors ever documented in animal science. And almost nobody understands what they're really communicating. Let's start with what most people assume, that this is just a trained response. Pavlov's bell. Grab the keys, the dog gets up. Conditioned reflex. Simple. Except that doesn't explain what researchers keep finding when they actually study it. Scientists at the University of Vienna ran a series of experiments measuring dogs' behavior during owner departures. Not just what the dogs did, but what was happening inside them. They measured cortisol levels, heart rate, eye movement patterns, and what they found wasn't a simple reflex response at all. The moment an owner begins preparing to leave, not when they say goodbye, not when the door opens, but the moment they begin the routine, a dog's cortisol levels begin rising. The stress response is already activating before a single word is spoken. Your dog isn't reacting to you leaving, they're anticipating it, and that distinction changes everything. Here's what anticipatory grief looks like in a dog's brain. In 2021, researchers using non-invasive neuroimaging on dogs, yes, dogs trained to sit still inside MRI machines, which is exactly as extraordinary as it sounds, found that when dogs viewed images of their owner's face, the caudate nucleus activated. That's the region of the brain associated with positive anticipation, reward, love, the same region that lights up in humans when we see someone we're deeply attached to. But when those same dogs were shown cues associated with owner absence, a packed bag, car keys, a coat being put on, a different response emerged. The amygdala, the brain's threat detection center, the same region that fires when any mammal senses incoming loss. What this means is staggering. Your dog sitting at the door watching you leave is experiencing something neurologically similar to what you experience watching someone you love walk toward a departure gate. They know you're going. They know they can't stop it, and they're saying goodbye only way they know how. But how they say goodbye, that's where it gets specific, and specific in ways most owners never notice. Watch for these behaviors in the last 60 seconds before you walk out. A slow blink. A dog that holds eye contact with you and blinks slowly isn't being passive. Slow blinking in animals is a trust signal. It's the visual equivalent of lowering your guard. When your dog slow blinks at you before you leave, behavioral researchers classify this as a comfort-seeking behavior. They're not trying to guilt you into staying. They're trying to memorize you. The lean. If your dog presses their body against your legs in the final moments, they're not just being affectionate. Research on tactile bonding in dogs found that physical contact in moments of anticipated stress produces a measurable spike in oxytocin in both the dog and the person they're touching. Your dog has learned through thousands of small experiments that touching you makes the anxiety smaller. The lean is self-medication. The follow with the eyes, not the feet. This one is the most overlooked. When a dog tracks your movement around a room with their eyes but doesn't follow physically, they're doing something that ethologists call visual anchoring. They've accepted they can't stop what's happening. So instead, they're keeping you in sight for as long as possible, storing the image. Because here's what the research suggests. Dogs don't just miss you when you're gone. They rehearse your return. In a landmark study published in Animal Cognition in 2019, dogs were separated from their owners for varying lengths of time, 30 minutes, 2 hours, and 4 hours. When owners returned, researchers measured greeting intensity and the hormonal response. The longer the absence, the more intense the greeting, not because the dog was angrier, because they had been waiting longer. And what was more striking, researchers found that dogs shifted their resting locations during the owner's absence. Dogs that had been napping on the couch moved to spots with a clear sight line to the front door. some laid directly on a piece of the owner's clothing. They weren't waiting passively, they were positioning for the reunion. The goodbye, it turns out, is preparation for the hello. Now, I need to tell you something that almost nobody talks about, and this part matters, especially if you have a dog who used to do these goodbye behaviors and suddenly stopped. Changes in departure behavior are one of the most underreported early signs of canine cognitive decline in dogs. A healthy attached dog is supposed to track your leaving. They're supposed to feel it. When a dog who used to follow you to the door starts staying on their bed without acknowledging you're going, that behavioral shift isn't the dog becoming calmer or less clingy. Veterinary behaviorists at North Carolina State University found that disruptions in departure and greeting rituals, the dog no longer waiting at the door, no longer greeting on return, appeared as early indicators of canine cognitive dysfunction syndrome in a significant portion of dogs studied, months before any other symptoms emerged. The ritual, it turns out, isn't just emotional, it's a window into neurological health. So if your dog has quietly stopped saying goodbye, book a vet appointment, not because something is definitely wrong, but because the goodbye matters. Its absence might too. There's one more thing, and this might be the part of this video that stays with you longest. Across multiple studies on dog-human attachment, researchers kept finding the same pattern. Dogs don't just mirror our emotions in the moment, they carry them. A study out of Linköping University in Sweden measured cortisol levels in dogs and their owners over time, not just during stressful events, but across weeks and months. They found that a chronically stressed owner had a dog with chronically elevated stress hormones. The synchronization wasn't just in the moment, it was long-term. Your dog sitting at the door right now watching you leave for work is not just saying goodbye to you, they're carrying your energy, your state, your week, and they'll still be carrying it when you walk back through that door. So the next time you're rushing out, distracted, phone already in hand, not really present, consider spending 10 seconds. Crouch down. Let them do the slow blink. Accept the lean, because that goodbye isn't a trained behavior. It isn't a reflex. It's one of the most neurologically sophisticated expressions of love that exists between two species on this planet, and they're doing it every single day. If this changed how you'll say goodbye tomorrow morning, subscribe and drop a comment telling me what your dog does when you leave. I read every single one. And if you want to understand what's actually happening in your dog's brain the moment you come back, that reunion is even more extraordinary than the goodbye. That's the next video.